YouTube. 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 What it do, man? So let me tell you what happened. I recorded a video. Mike was on mute. Pissed me off. I know y'all don't watch for long, so I'm trying to get right into it. What was the video? We watching a video about Destiny about outer terrestrial things. I wanted to start right here because it was interesting. Let's get right to it.
Faraway civilization and just don't know it yet. There've been
wait.
Maybe we're about to find out six worlds there are and how many possibilities that there could be advanced civilizations. The question remains, why is the universe silent? Maybe we're about to find
title of the video. These paradoxes keep scientists awake at night. No solutions. So right now they talking about aliens, right? And why we ain't been visited by aliens yet, which is kind of weird, because if he was just talking about how our universe or galaxy is like really young compared to some out there, so if it's other galaxies, universes out there, I know they can travel.
Out soon as technology advances.
But what if we not meant to, which is why they don't do it?
Or perhaps we've already been visited by some faraway civilization and just don't know it yet. There have been many unexplained UFO sightings recently, and some believe extraterrestrials are already here. Solid proof of that would put an end to this paradox. The bootstrap paradox is a paradox of time travel that questions how something that's taken from the future and placed in the past could ever come into existence in the first place.
Hold on.
Solid proof of that would put an end to this paradox. The bootstrap paradox is a paradox of time travel that questions how something that's taken from the future and placed in the past.
I know this movie old.
Could
but what the is that? What is that? Who edited that? I mean, it's cleaner than my shit, but dang, come on, man. What is that?
Come into existence in the first place. It's a common theme used by writers, inspiring plot lines in many science fiction films, such as the Bill and Ted movies, Terminator, and Doctor Who. So let's look at one of the examples of this paradox. Imagine that you're a time traveler, but before you go on an excellent adventure, go into a bookstore and buy a copy of Hamlet, written by Shakespeare. You then travel back in time to London during the Elizabethan era and give the book to Shakespeare. William S. then copies the book and claims it as his own work. Centuries go by, and during this time, Hamlet is printed and reproduced countless times until a copy of it ends up in the same bookstore that you bought it from. The question then becomes, who wrote Hamlet?
He would have still wrote Hamlet. If you brought him the book, okay, so say he wrote the book, right? And you bring it back in time to him, and he copies his own writing from the book. It's still him writing it. You just took it and brought it back to him. What are you talking about?
This is another famous paradox, which involves you going back in time to take out your grandfather. By that we mean erasing his existence. Now, we know everyone here loves their grandparents, but this is only an example. Once again, you're a time traveler, and you pop back in time to do the deed and erase your grandfather's existence. You then return to present time. But the thing is, with your grandfather gone, your father wasn't born, and you now realize you never even existed. Everything about you has now been erased, including all your family, friends, all your possessions, and your history. So you wouldn't have been born in the first place. So it would be impossible to do this. Now, some scientists believe that if this were to happen, you would have now created alternate timeline or even entered a paradox.
You know what's crazy? Like, for real, like, this is really on my head. It's a timeline where you didn't like the video. Go ahead, like the video. What are you doing? What are you doing? We sitting here watching this beautiful video together. Shout out to Destiny for making this beautiful video for me and my community to watch. And you didn't even like the video. That's a buster move, man.
Parallel universe. By the way, for those who missed our video on parallel universes, check out the link in the description.
We will be checking that out. Alright? Because there's going to be more of these. Because the universe is cool. And you're going to like the universe.
Another interesting variant to the grandfather paradox, going back in time to eliminate Hitler to stop World War II. This would have some interesting consequences. Let's say you have a shiny time machine, and you've got a plan to go back before things...
I'm dead. What is them shorts? What is them shorts?
Get out of here.
He should have been taken off wearing them shorts.
Control during the war.
What is that?
The problem now is that the action removes any reason to travel back in time, along with any knowledge that the reason to time travel back ever existed. Acting as a time-traveling executioner...
Damn, that's deep. I never thought about it like that, but you would know why you went back in time still, right? Because you would have to know why you went in time, but the only thing is you would be the only one who knew about that. But then that makes me think about, because I tried to record the other video. The other video is about parallel universes. I wish it didn't. I wasn't muted. But that means that in another parallel universe, you never went back in time to stop it. But now it's a universe where you did stop it. But now it's a universe where you thought about stopping it, but you didn't stop it. Then it's a universe where you thought about stopping it, you took action to stop it, but you failed in stopping it. But then he was like, it's so many. It can only be so many universes before they start repeating itself. Basically, like it's only so many times a pattern can, you know what I'm saying, happen until it starts to repeat itself. So then those things will be repeating again and again. So, man,
simply creates a paradox.
You gotta think about this. That's crazy.
Along with the many worlds idea, traveling back in time might create a new timeline without Der Fuhrer. But the old timeline would also still exist. You might even create a new timeline that's even worse. But what would happen if you sent something back through a wormhole?
This is my question. Is a wormhole and a black hole the same thing? Because isn't a wormhole still... Like, anything that goes through a black hole is getting disintegrated, right? A wormhole, ain't it the same thing? I mean, I don't know, man. I'm trying to learn with you guys.
The late, great Joseph Polchinski is the famous theoretical physicist who wrote the book on string theory.
Look at that chin on him.
Polchinski also came up with a potentially paradoxical situation involving a billiard ball sent through a wormhole that travels back in time. In this scenario, the billiard ball is fired into a wormhole at such an angle, if it continues along the path, it will exit the wormhole in the past at the right angle to collide.
Hold on, what?
Involving a billiard ball sent through a wormhole that travels back in time.
Okay, so this ball is traveling back in
this
time.
Scenario,
past time.
The billiard ball is fired into a wormhole at such an angle, if it continues along the path, it will exit the wormhole in the past at the right angle to collide with its earlier self, thereby knocking it off course and preventing it from entering the wormhole in the first place. However, some physics students came up with solutions which avoid any inconsistencies by having the ball emerge from the future at a different angle than the one used to generate the paradox and deliver its younger self a glancing blow instead of knocking it completely away from the wormhole. A blow which changes its trajectory in the right way so that it will travel back in time with the angle required to deliver its younger self this glancing blow.
This stuff also made me think, like, you know how like in movies they be having all that stuff. I know they like edited in green screen, all that good stuff when they be editing the movies and stuff. But what if that stuff, you know what I'm saying, if we can make it and like make it make sense in movies and stuff like that, when are we gonna actually do it, or have we already been doing it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
now here's something that will make you think about reality differently. The observer's paradox is something very strange indeed. And of all the bizarre facts of quantum theory, there are fewer stranger than Schrödinger's famous fable about a cat that's neither alive nor deceased. For the record, this is a thought experiment only, and no animals have ever been harmed. The paradox describes a cat that's locked inside of a windowless box, along with some radioactive material, a Geiger counter, a hammer, and a container of deadly poison. The radioactive material has a 50% chance to decay. If the Geiger counter records an emitted radioactive particle, it then triggers a hammer that smashes a vial of poison that will be fatal to the cat. However, you would not know if the cat was alive or deceased until you opened the box. And so until the box was opened, the cat would be both alive and deceased at the same time. How is this possible, you ask? This is because simply looking at matter actually changes the outcome of what happens to it. You can't know something is there unless you see it.
Dude, look, the last video, man, I wish I would have seen the last video because it would have made so much sense. Because I was basically saying, you can't know something is there without seeing it. So he was talking about atoms, neutrons, and stuff. So he put like a phone down or something like that. And I can't explain all of it. It was too much. I'm not that smart. But that's exactly what I was saying. Because if a tree falls in the wood, do it make a sound? To you, no. But it definitely made a sound. Like, come on, bro. This stuff is...
Now, you're probably saying this whole thing is very
twisting.
strange, but consider another observer's paradox called the double slit experiment. This is the most famous physics experiment of all time. Imagine a wall with two slits in it.
He talked about this in the last video too. Man.
And then throwing tennis balls at the wall. Some of them will bounce off the wall, but some of them will travel through the slits. If there is a wall behind the first one with slits, some of the tennis balls that made it through will hit it. Now, if you mark where the tennis balls hit the second wall, you should expect to see two strips of marks, roughly the same size as the slits. Sounds pretty straightforward. But in the double slit experiment, something awfully strange happens when you shine a light through the slits. Light isn't just a wave, it's also a particle called a photon. Now, if you shoot a single photon at the double slits, it forms an interference pattern on the back wall, as if it's interfering with itself. It's like the photon went through both slits at the same time. But this is where it gets stranger. Simply by looking at the double slit experiment, the behavior of the photons changes, as if the photons are alive and know you're watching them. We know this because if the experimenter tries to find out which slit the photon is going through, the interference pattern doesn't show up at all. The bottom line is that observing a photon can change events that have already happened. How is that possible? No one's figured it out yet. Maybe you might be the one to solve this puzzle.
If we keep watching these videos, we might be. We might all get smarter together and just come together and figure this out. It can happen. Then we can get a Nobel Peace. If that's how it works.
One of the biggest paradoxes in physics is the black hole information paradox, a puzzle that results from the combination of quantum mechanics and general relativity. Calculations show that physical information could permanently disappear into a black hole, allowing physical states to devolve into the same state. But this is controversial because quantum mechanics states that information can never be destroyed. Let's say you burned two different letters written on paper. Putting them back together from ash would be nearly impossible, but not entirely. The small differences in smoke temperature and the amount of ash would still retain information about the two different letters. The problem with black holes is they suck things up and then, over a very, very long time, radiate what they've swallowed back out in the form of Hawking radiation. Unfortunately, unlike the smoke, temperature, and ash from burning a letter, Hawking radiation contains no information about what the black hole ate. This is because all Hawking radiation is the same, which implies that black holes destroy information about the universe.
I also, I'll be watching this stuff, man, without y'all. This was a while ago, though. So, I read that I seen that the black holes, when they take something in, not they take something in, that's not even what I want to talk about. What am I talking about? What I wanted to say was a black hole is basically like a star, like our sun, that imploded on itself or blew up type thing, or I don't know what it did. And then it had like a reverse pull, and then that's what black holes come. I don't know, man.
So, do evaporating black holes really destroy information, or does information escape as the black hole evaporates? A new generation of physicists say that information does indeed escape a black hole by their radiation, and they've identified an invisible surface that lies inside a black hole's event horizon called the quantum extremal surface. This surface appears to encode the amount of information that's radiated away from the black hole, evolving over the black hole's lifetime exactly as expected if information escapes. Apparently, something can escape a black hole. It's a problem not completely solved yet, and it's a work in progress. When we find out for sure, stay tuned here, and we'll let you know.
We're gonna stay tuned, man. Shout out to my man Destiny again for this beautiful video I get to watch with you guys. I think I want to do this more often, man, because I universe, man. It's interesting, and I like talking about it. So might do more of these, man. Keep up the great work, dog. This was dope, man. This was dope, man. You know what I'm saying? Really dope video though. We gonna figure out, man. We gonna figure out what he was talking about. I honestly forgot now what he just said, but I'm probably gonna rewatch it, man. And I'll remember it. And next time we're gonna talk about it some more. Like, comment, subscribe. I know you enjoyed yourself. I enjoyed myself. We learned something new. Hey, you wouldn't have known any of that if I didn't show you, because you don't care about the universe. You don't care. Look at you. You don't care. But I care. I care enough to let you learn a little something from watching me watch you watch me. Alright, man. Keep your head up. Keep your bread up. Please don't get fed up. I'm gone.
Keep the heat back where I go, cause my city cold. Can't even trust my bro, I might get back down. Soon as niggas see something they want, they gon' get you gone. Them niggas snake you for your pack and hit you for your paw. Only got me, myself, and I ain't the man in the mirror. These bitches stabbed me in the back, so I ran out of feelings. And I did all this on my own, so it's fuck your opinion.